What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As always, my name is G. Glad to have you all here today. And guys, we are here playing a survival horror game by the name Maid of Sker, which was developed and published by the same company known as Wells Interactive. Before I do get into the review, I just want to make a quick reminder that if you have not subscribed, what are you guys waiting for? We do play video games here daily. I do upload weekly, so that's something that you'll be interested in watching. Definitely consider subscribing. We do play various type of indie games, AAA games. We also cover news reports and all that good stuff, so definitely consider subscribing. That is something that you'll be interested in watching. But with that being said, man, let's get straight to the point of this video and the review of this game. So Maid of Sker was a pretty interesting game. It's a first-person survival horror game. It really reminded me a lot of Resident Evil, especially Resident Evil 7, and as well as Resident Evil Village with the, just the first-person mechanics. But it definitely had its interesting premise, as well as the story was, I guess, it was kind of cliche with the whole damsel in distress being locked in, like in the, in a mansion, or in this case in the hotel, and you're the spouse. Your name is Thomas, and you're pretty much trying to like gather these like pieces of music because the residents or the people that are patrolling the hotel have gone crazy because of something that's been inhabiting in the hotel. So you had to gather all these music pieces in order to kind of set them free or take into the cult and join them in a sense of way. Basically, there's multiple endings on here. I will give any spoilers and none of that, but the whole concept of the game was pretty much just that. It's just surviving, making sure that you're getting all the music sheets, as well as I believe they're called cylinders, where you kind of had to get like the piano cylinders type of pieces and all that. The idea was nice and all, and it really did have its interesting moments, but after playing it for quite a while, man, you start to realize that this game is nothing more than a glorified walking simulator. Like literally, all you're doing is just walking through corridor and corridor, opening doors, getting collectibles, like like in any other games, there's always going to be collectibles like documents, so you can read forward into the story if that's your thing. I personally like to do it while also playing the game, because I feel it kind of adds to the story and the background and all that. So I try to get the all the collectibles whenever I do find them. However, some of the collectibles are kind of hard to come by, especially when it's in a very dark area. They do highlight a little bit, but it isn't that apparent. It doesn't just like pop up on there. And there's also another little collectible here which I thought was pretty nice and kind of fun to find, were these musical dolls. Now these dolls were pretty easy to relocate because there is a very unique ringtone to them, so that you're nearby one of them. There's 20 of them in total. I thought that was pretty fun to kind of distract you from the main objective, but in a sense, because the main objective is basically going to one linear thing to another, it's not really like you're gonna get that confused. I mean, at times, maybe at the beginning when you do enter the hotel initially, that's when you might get a little confused, because from the ground floors to the first floor and second floor, and it is a little daunting at first. But then when you start to really play it and you start to realize that the game isn't as big as you first thought, it just because of the hotel and the mansion, the maps that you get, it kind of makes it seem like it is bigger. But then you start to notice that you going forward pretty much moves you a lot in the map in itself, so it really isn't as big as your mind kind of makes it seem. So one thing that I will say about this game, it kind of reminded me of Layers of Fear, which is another indie title which has the same idea, that you pretty much just walk around and pick up like certain little trinkets, like collectibles and stuff like that. It was pretty much like that. The only difference between this game, Maid of Sker, and as well and Layers of Fear, is the fact that there's actually enemies in this game. Now this is where the negative review is really going to come from. My opinion is the addition to the enemies in the game. Like, I'm all for playing a game that's stealth heavy, as long as there's like an option where you kind of combat these so-called enemies. But in this game, you can't really do much except making sure that you're really quiet. There's a mechanic where you can hold your breath, which I really didn't use as often as, maybe when I did play like the harder mode, because there is an achievement where you do have to play the game in the most hardest difficulty, and the enemies, they can hear like literally everything, so you do have to kind of use the holding your breath mechanic. But I would really encourage people to play the game a couple of times. It's really not that long once you really understand exactly where you have to go and where the pieces are at and all that. It's a pretty short game, but when you're playing on easy mode, and the first time me playing it, I didn't really use the whole holding your breath mechanic, which was kind of unfortunate because I thought it was a pretty unique concept where you can kind of hold your breath and you won't make any noise. But since you are playing in the easiest difficulty, the enemies aren't really that aware of you. You can literally like walk past them and they won't even flinch, or they won't even hear you. They can't see you, so you can be in front of them freely and they won't do anything. But if you bump into them or you make some sort of noise or you run, that's when they will hear you, and they are pretty annoying once they do find you. Even on the easiest difficulty, they are pretty annoying. And when I was trying to get at is, in stealth games like Dishonored, Thief, there's like those stealth type of options. You can play stealthy, or you can just go haywire and just kill everyone. One of my favorite stealth games of all time was Thief. I really love the game where you can just like really be really stealthy, but at the same time you can also be as chaotic as possible. But in Thief, when you are doing a stealth type of a playthrough, you can at least take the enemies out in some way. You don't have to kill them, you can maybe knock them out and all that. But in Maid of Sker, you can't do any of that. Like, you can't knock the enemies out, you can't kill them, you can't do none of that. And the only thing you have in your disposal is like this little sound box that makes like this this harmony, and that kind of disorients the enemies for a little while, and then you can get past them. This does comes really in handy when you're going for the achievement where you cannot get hit at all in the game. Isn't as scary as it might sound, especially if you're very patient. And you're playing the easiest difficulty, it's not really going to be that hard, because again, they're literally, they won't notice you when you're walking by them. As long as you're just being quiet and you're running only the portion that you understand or you really know, then you're not going to have a hard time getting that achievement. But going back to the point is, if you're not patient and you just really want to play the game, but you also want to take out the enemies that are very annoying and very slow, unfortunately you can't do it, because the character Thomas that you play doesn't have the ability to knock them out or kill them. You literally just have to wait for them to pass by, and then you have to go through. Another portion that I will say is really negative about the game is, once you do reach the second floor, and I will spoil it here, you are going to reach a new character known as the Brute, or the uncle of the of your spouse, and he's going to be patrolling on there. He reminds me of Mr. X or Nemesis from Resident Evil, because he literally just patrols around that second floor. And no matter what you do for this enemy, you can be as quiet as possible, it wouldn't matter, because he will still find you, and that is freaking annoying. Like, it really is. And this is where that little harmony ball will really come in handy, because you can kind of distract them, especially for the no hit challenge achievement. You are going to have to use that quite often in order to get around him and all that, and you can't really do anything about it. You can't kill him, you can't do nothing. There is a portion in the game where you kind of disable him for a little while, but after that, if you miss the collectible on there or a musical doll, you will have to unfortunately bypass him wherever you go on the second floor, which is pretty annoying, because you can't, like I said, you cannot avoid him. No matter how quiet you are, he will find you, and this guy is not gonna stop following you until you either get into a safe room or you leave the area altogether and then try to do it again, which is really annoying and really tedious to really try to be as slow as possible to avoid the enemies, and then this guy will just find you regardless. Overall, man, the story, like I mentioned, it's pretty cliche when it comes to these games, where the whole saving your wife from a house or a mansion, or in this particular case, a hotel. You're pretty much your family is like a cult type thing, or their family is like an occult thing, and it's not really that original in my opinion. And with the whole mechanics and all that, it is a little slow, and there's not really much action, because again, you can't really do anything. There is a separate play mode where you can get like challenges, you can do the challenges, and there is guns and all these types of arsenals at your disposal. So there was the ability to add guns in the game, which I think will make the base game more enjoyable, but unfortunately the developers did not add it into the base game. It was more like a really stealth survival type thing, and I think if they added at least the ability to knock the enemies out, that would help just the game a little bit more better. There is some replayability if you really want to challenge yourself and make sure and see how fast you can pass the game, because again, once you do get into the hotel in itself, you know, you really have like the ability to kind of explore different areas. You don't have to like, you know, follow a linear path. But again, if you want to pass the game as soon as possible, there's a lot of things you can skip. You don't have to answer the phone. You don't have to do like the side quests, like getting the dolls, getting the collectibles and all that. There's some doors that you don't even have to go to, as long as you just memorize where the music sheets are at, and you can just do it that way. So there is some replayability, but some of the achievements are a little annoying. It can be a little tedious and a little frustrating for some players. So, you know, overall the game was okay. It's definitely a nice pickup for those who are just looking for like a indie scare. You know, maybe if you want to play at night with your headphones on, I can see how this game might give you a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a scare, not too much. Again, it's literally just a walking simulator, and there's really not much to do. The story, again, it's not really there. You only, you know, you only interact with like the spouse like one time in the game, as opposed to the telephone calls and all that. Your voice character, you know, the character that you play, Thomas, doesn't even have a voice actor except for maybe like the sound effects when he gets hurt and all that. So that kind of takes it away as well. And overall, it, you know, because it was just a little too slow for my liking, and personally, this is just my opinion, I will definitely just have to rate this game a 5 out of 10. You know, it's definitely one of those games where I was more just relief knowing that I already got the last achievements and I was done, and I was just, you know, I was just over it. Like, it was just playing it once or twice and you're pretty much just over it. And then doing the challenges, trying to get that, you know, the great scores on it to get those achievements is also very tedious and annoying. So, you know, just for that reason, and the fact that you can't kill the enemies and you have to be really slow and very patient, kind of really drags the game even further. So I will definitely just have to give it a 5 out of 10, a C rating. Again, just my opinion. This is the survival horror game called Maid of Sker. Sker being Sker, but basically that's how you say it, just Scare. And that's just my opinion, man. Definitely let me know in the comments if you guys think my review was alright, or was I, you know, maybe not getting the concept of the game. Maybe I just didn't understand the story, or if you just disagree with my overall grading, definitely let me know in the comment section. But this is just my opinion. But with that being said, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time of your day to watch this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, peace out.